Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I am so pleased that you're here for our first ever town hall session. Just giving folks a couple minutes to join, and we'll be getting started in about a minute or so. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining our first ever FCO Town Hall on November 7th, 2024. I'm Sam Peck. My pronouns are she and they, and I'm the Executive Director of Family Councils of Ontario. And today I'm happy to spend some time with you to provide some updates of our work and to hear some of what's on your mind. Before we get into that, just a few logistics. We are recording this session, our November 7th town hall. The updates and education sections will be posted online. We're not going to be posting the Q&A or discussion pieces to ensure attendee confidentiality. If there's a point that comes up in our Q&A, we will that needs to be shared more broadly, we can do that via our e-bulletin. All attendees are muted. We are in a webinar format, and we'll ask you to participate via the chat. You can ask questions, say hi, let us know where you're from, what's on your mind. Any home or council specific issues we'll address one-on-one by an FCO staff. I have other members of the FCO team here with us today. I have Tae Young Jung in the background, our events manager, making sure everything runs smoothly. Yoan Williams, our communication manager, is here as well to provide some support. Kathleen Edwards, education manager. Natasha Dupuis, our outreach manager, and Leanne Policier, our client services manager. They're all here to provide any one-on-one support that you may need. Should you have any technical, any technical issues, please share that in the chat as well. You can also reply to your participant or your event confirmation email, or reach out to Tae Young or Yoan in the chat, and they will be happy to help you out. We always start our sessions with a land acknowledgement, and we do that in recognition of the fact that we're all on Indigenous land, and we are all treaty people, whether you are an Indigenous person on one side of the treaty or the descendant of a settler on the other. We have agreements that have been passed down to us, like all the other laws and regulations in our country or in our regions that are passed down to us that we are participants of. And land acknowledgements are one way to reflect that, the land that we're on and what we share in, but also as part of the call for truth and reconciliation. So the truth is, I'm coming to you today from Hamilton. And the city of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. And there are actually over 46 treaties in Ontario. There are hundreds of Indigenous communities, languages, and treaties across the nation. And while FCO were early in our journey towards true reconciliation, we do believe that starting with a land acknowledgement and situating ourselves in the land is one way to advance those goals. The photo you see on your screen is actually of a waterfall in Hamilton. Hamilton's known as the waterfall capital of Canada, and we are also part of the Greenbelt and have a lot of natural resources to care for and share in. You can learn more about the land that you're on at native-land.ca. You can type in your address and it'll tell you a lot about the peoples, the communities, and about the languages and the territories of the land that you're joining from today. Taeyoung, can you activate the chat for actually, I can do it.
Just did.
Okay, everyone, the chat is now up. Thanks to Doreen for flagging that with us. So say hi in the chat. Let us know what land you're joining from, so we can get to know each other a little bit better. Also, we have a poll that we'd like to do. It'll just ask a couple of questions. We just want to know in what capacity are you joining us today? Are you a caregiver? Are you a staff person, community organization? And how'd you learn about this webinar? So is it from our e-bulletin? Is it from one of our partners, a long-term care home? We just want to know a little bit more about you and where you're joining from. And feel free to also continue to introduce yourself in the chat and let us know. I'm going to give this another about 10 seconds or so. A couple of easy questions to get us started. And then I'll share back what we heard from you. So I'll give you a couple more seconds. Just if anyone is the last minute participant, okay. So what I can see is 80% of you identify as a caregiver or a family member. Also, we've got someone from a community organization, family council member, someone else. You all learned about the webinar, this session from our work. So I'm glad it reached you. Now, moving on, just tell you our agenda for the day. We have some ground rules to ground ourselves in the space we're in and how we're going to discuss together, share some work on our activities to support councils, a bit of a public policy update. I'm going to share a brand new process that we're launching to get more feedback about the materials we develop for you. I'm going to do a little bit of education on continued membership in a family council, because that's something that's come up lately. Do some Q&A, and then we'll have our closing. Our ground rules are fairly simple. We respect confidentiality together, so you can take the key learnings from our session, but as we go through a Q&A or a discussion, we'll ask that you only share the key learnings and knowledge and take that back, but not who said what or the specifics of someone's story or their experience. We will ask you to share your questions. This is a great opportunity for you to ask things of the FCO team. And share any candid feedback in a kind fashion. We do want to have a collaborative and supportive environment for our events. So it should be asked, even if we're upset or concerned about something, to be mindful of the ways in which we are sharing that with others. We also use the term step up and step back. It's actually borrowed from our friends at the CLRI, the Center for Learning, Research, and Innovation in Long-Term Care at Briere. And it means if you find that you're not participating and you want to, think about an invitation to step up to the conversation. And then if you feel that you are sharing a lot, maybe step back and let others participate as well. All of this just to create a positive collaborative environment for us all, from the folks who are joining us for Sudbury, Ottawa, and other areas. So now, family council activities. So what are we doing now to help support you? So we have a variety of services and supports that we offer. We have our consultations where you can always reach our staff. Natasha and Leanne can help with inquiries, questions, consultations. We have a variety of educational presentations and workshops that can be delivered virtually or at your long-term care home for your council. We also have some new things that we're offering. So we have a coaching stream now. And what that is Natasha, who runs the coaching piece, attends council meetings virtually. She is based in Sudbury, to provide some in the moment feedback and support. And that could be attending a monthly meeting for a few months just to be there as a bit of a support. It can be as you're getting going. If you're experiencing some change and transition in your council, Natasha can do that for you. She also runs the administrative forums. And because we recognize that effective family councils both contribute to a collaborative environment, but also exist, hopefully, in a collaborative long-term care home environment, it's really important for the administrator to be able to set that tone within a home, to understand the value of councils and to be able to champion them in their organization. So the administrative forums are a great opportunity for the long-term care leadership to gather with their peers and FCO staff to discuss challenges, concerns, and ideas in ways that help them build their knowledge, capacity, and motivation to support effective family councils. So if you have questions about the coaching or the administrative forums, please reach out to us and we'll get you in touch with Natasha, sorry. We also have a new resource about effective email practices for family councils. We've had councils ask us about how best to manage their email. And so Kathleen pulled together a really great, short, sweet, but still comprehensive resource on how to manage your email. And our major piece of work, labor of love over the last 18 months, making the move to long-term care, is our practical navigation guide for Ontario families who are supporting someone on the trajectory to long-term care. This resource has materials from our sector partners, such as the CLRI, deprescribing.org, Eldorado, and others, that provide community and hospital-based caregivers with information on the realities of long-term care, what they can expect, and some just frequently asked questions about what long-term care is like, how it works. So if you know of a community organization where caregivers are engaged and you think our guide should be there, please let us know. You can email our info@fco.ngo email address, or get in touch with Yoan at iwilliams@fco.ngo, because we want to know where you think we can make an impact by making this guide available. We hope that with this guide, if family members are more informed about long-term care, they'll have reasonable expectations. They know what to expect in this new care setting, so that when they join the long-term care home community on that move-in day, they'll be better prepared, more knowledgeable. They'll have an easier transition to long-term care community and can be effective family council members earlier on in their involvement in that long-term care home, so that they can join you, family councils, as effective partners. So that's really the goal there, a bit of an upstream intervention that really is moving towards helping families be better prepared and to be able to be involved in your family council sooner and better. So please check out our website to download a copy, and we also have a form in our e-bulletin asking around print copies to see who would benefit from this. Our impact. So we have been busy already this year. So through the end of September, we have had 139 consultations with council members, 99 with home staff. We've done 29 presentations. We've been coaching 3 councils, and we have 2 homes and councils receiving conflict resolution support. So our team has been quite busy working with councils to help them sustain their work, to navigate challenging issues, but also presentations and other support to help councils get up and running. But we also work with our government and community partners to help co-create the environments where councils can thrive and caregivers can be engaged in the life of the home. So we've had over 40, actually 43 engagements with the Ministry of Long-Term Care through meetings, advisory tables, and so on, and well over 200 community partner engagements. Our partners such as OLTCA and Advantage Ontario, who are the 2 provider associations. We've also had connections with the Advocacy Centre for the Elderly, Ontario Caregiver Organization, our good friends at the Ontario Association of Residents Councils, and a new and developing partnership with the Canadian Centre for Caregiving Excellence. So a lot of this, the ministry work and the community partner, fits under my portfolio, my piece of work. So I do spend much of my time engaged in that, but also other pieces that support the sector. So we're involved in a variety of research projects and QI or quality improvement initiatives across the sector. So there's a project connecting today to combat social isolation and loneliness, which is a remote visiting program. We're involved in what's called DIAL, which is de-intensifying diabetes management for older adults in long-term care. The Strengthening Medication Safety Program, Ontario Caregiver Organization's Caregivers as Partners in Care Learning Collaborative. We're involved in the Ontario CLRI Provincial Advisory Committee, plus their collaborative project on palliative care, and also their Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, which is very, very near and dear to our hearts at FCO as a way to support equity and belonging and inclusion across the sector. And the Behavioral Supports Ontario Research Institute on Aging Person-Centered Language Advisory Committee, which is another initiative that is very, again, very near and dear to us as ways to support inclusion and belonging actually through person-centered language. So these are just some of the research projects and quality improvement initiatives we're involved in that really are looking at how to improve the sector to make it better for residents and caregivers. I'm going to talk a little bit about our public policy piece, because that is something that we get questions about. So before I talk a little bit more, I know not everyone is living and breathing public policy on all the time. So let's talk about a little bit about what it means. So there's a lot of definitions. The Mackinac Centre, it defines it as the broad area of government laws, regulations, court decisions, and local ordinances. MelCap would say it's systematically using the state to affect people's lives. Dean Kilpatrick, it's like the Mackinac Centre, a system of laws, regulatory measures, courses of action, and funding priorities concerning a given topic promulgated by a government entity or its representatives. So that expands the definition to also include funding priorities. It can also be defined as a course of action or inaction chosen by public authorities to address a given problem or interrelated set of problems. And the California State University Long Beach Graduate Center for Public Policy and Administration, like their name, they've got a longer definition. It's whatever governments choose to do or not do. It can be seen in the behavior of government officials and agencies. It defines the relationship of government to its environment, And a policy is a purposive course of action taken to deal with a problem or concern. So public policy can be action or inaction. It is laws, regulations, programs, funding, policies, all taken by the state or the government in relation to something that is happening in the broader jurisdiction. So that is what public policy is. You'll see it come out in Ministry of Long-Term Care memos and funding decisions, in legislation, regulatory changes, programs. So what the government puts out and says, this is what's going to happen in long-term care, that's public policy. Our approach is nonpartisan or all partisan. And by that we mean we don't take and also because we're a registered charity, we can't take a stand on a particular party or potential government official, but we're nonpartisan. We'll work with whoever is obviously the government in charge and anyone who is interested in supporting a healthy and vibrant long-term care sector. So we work with everyone. We are evidence-based, including lived experience. So we do our best to combine living experience with evidence, data, and research. We have a very collaborative approach. We're not adversarial. Our approach is very much that we work with our partners. So that way we have a seat at the table where decisions are being made and discussed, and work with government, any government in power to advance our mission and achieve our vision. Our strategy includes that we have our values and guiding principles, and this is really a document that's a work in progress. We look at the long-term care landscape as a whole and incorporate family, resident, and staff experiences. While our mandate isn't primarily the audience of residents or home staff, we do still keep that in mind regarding any contributions we make to the discourse and decisions being made. And we are working on a process for identifying how our input actually affects change, to see where we're having the greatest impact and where we can improve. The ways that we are currently involved is I'm a member of the Ministry of Long-Term Care's Technical Advisory Table, or TAT. The work that's done at TAT is under a strict non-disclosure agreement or confidentiality agreement. So there's nothing that I can say until it becomes public. Once things become public, then I can say that we've had input into it. But if you ask me specific questions about it, I may not be able to answer what work is being done until something becomes public. We have regular one-on-one meetings with the ministry folks through the Deputy Minister's Office, the Associate Deputy Ministers of Operations Division and Policy Division. Those are regular touch points to share updates, ask questions, and to share with them what we're hearing from you. An example of the way we were involved in the impact we had was a key decision, which was updates to the regulation under FLTCA, the Fixing Long-Term Care Act. There was a proposal that had been made by government to remove the minimum 100 hours of instruction for administrators. Along with the input from our other sector partners, we pushed to keep that requirement, and ministry did maintain that requirement. So that is still under the regulations that administrators must have a minimum of 100 hours of instruction. And this was important to us and other sector partners who pushed for this to maintain it, including Advantage Ontario and OLTCA and others, because administrators have a big job. They have to run the home in all ways, and they're responsible for setting the tone and the culture. So we're pleased to see that that was maintained. Now, moving on, this is an exciting new process that we're going to be introducing. So you're the first to hear about it. It's a bit of a sneak peek of what we are working on. We have a new resource feedback process. So we for many years have had a resource development advisory committee that was tasked with providing input. And they've done a fantastic job over the years. What we realized, though, is that getting feedback from active council members can be tough, because we've heard that it's too much to commit to a committee. So we've come up with a new way, a more inclusive and broad way to get your feedback on a draft resource to ensure that it meets your needs. So it's going to be a survey based. We estimate it's going to be 5 to 7 minutes to complete. It's going to be on a specific draft resource. So we'll provide through the survey, this is what the draft resource is. It will likely not be in its final design phase. We're going to focus on content. And we'll ask you specific questions about it. Is it easy to understand? Is the language clear? Does it accomplish this purpose of this resource educates you on this or how to do this? Is it inclusive? Is it just other questions about, does this resource meet your needs? And is it clear and easy to understand? So we'll have any current or recent family council member, long-term care home staff, or community partner can participate. And we're going to have in that survey, we're going to ask you to identify, are you a council member, home staff, or community partner? Because that'll also give us information on, for example, if it makes a lot of sense to the home staff, but not family council members who are the primary audience for this, we need to tweak things and have another go at it. But if council staff really don't get it, maybe we need a version of the same content that meets their needs. So it'll really help us get timely, easy to use feedback that we can really use to make resources better. So the first version of this, the first go, will probably take place in the new year. Well, we wanted you to know that we've heard you, that joining a committee just doesn't work for caregivers. So we've come up with something that we're hoping will be much more accessible. And also we're going to be making it also available in French. So to make sure that the French version of the resource meets the needs of Francophone folks. So we're hoping that this will really work for you, and that that you'll be able to participate. So now, and we can get to questions sort of all at the end, but feel free to put them in the chat as things come to mind. We've had questions lately about Family Council continued membership. And so I think part of what there's been a renewal in questions is from the updated memo about Family Council membership that came out earlier this year. So I want to do a little bit about what continued membership is. So many councils have members who stay on the council after the death of their resident. And this has been permissible, and it is permissible under FLTCA, or the Fixing Long-Term Care Act. Homes cannot interfere in this decision, but it is essential to include information in the terms of reference. For example, a family council, perhaps the one like is you can see in this photo, if one of those members, their resident, dies, they can remain on council and be considered continued membership. The term person of importance is what enables continued membership. If they're council members, active, engaged, effective council members, their role has an impact on the rest of the residents in that home. So their continued membership supports the rest of the residents. But it is essential to include it in your terms of reference. Each council does it differently, but it is essential to have that in your terms of reference so that as a council, you don't have conflict about what this means and how your council implements it. I'll talk about those different models and structures in a moment. So there is a memo that went out. You can find it on our website. Email us if you're having a hard time tracking it down. But the memo is a reminder to licensees that they have various duties to in working with the council, any council, but also that each council is unique and may determine its own role and responsibilities of the members, provided it's consistent with the requirements of FLTCA. Now, FLTCA section 65, subsection 65, states that a family member of a resident or a person of importance to a resident is entitled to be a member of the family council of a long-term care home. Subsection 65(6) states who may not be a member of a council, and those are likely the pieces you're quite familiar with, that the administrator, home staff, those sorts of folks cannot be a member of the council. And that even applies if there's a long-term care home staff person who also has a resident in the home, because the right to be a member of a council is subject to section 65(6) of who cannot be a member. So even if a home staff has a family member in the home, because they're home staff, they cannot be a member of the council. Now, we've learned from councils that they have developed different ways of structuring continued membership. So some councils have it so that they stay on with no restrictions, simply saying something like ABC long-term care home family council members are encouraged and permitted to stay on the council after the death of their resident. Okay, so that's no restrictions, just an invitation that they can remain on council. Some councils have developed that continued members can stay on the council, but not as a council leader, or that only so many of the council leaders can be continued members, in order to ensure that there's leadership representation and leadership by those who are currently engaged as caregivers within the home. That's another way of doing it. Some councils have, and these are somewhat less common, that people under continued membership can stay on the council for a certain amount of time or terms if you do it standard elections. Some have it so that they sort of a combination of a discussion and that staying on for a number of terms, so that for each term there's a discussion about if that membership engagement in the council is still effective. So there's different ways of structuring continued membership. The most common are no restrictions, or a certain number of leadership positions have to be by active caregivers. The other two, putting limits on the number of terms or an annual review or discussion, less common, but still completely acceptable. And with that note, I'm going to take us into our Q&A. So again, this section of the Q&A is not going to be posted on our YouTube channel. Should you have any questions, or in watching the recording of this session, please connect with us by email and ask more questions that way. So again, any questions or concerns, please connect with us, and here's how to do it. So connect with our team. You can see us there. So I'm there, your executive director of Family Councils Ontario. Natasha Dupuy, outreach manager, who's doing the coaching and administrator forum programs. Kathleen Edwards develops our resources and educational trainings and sessions. Leanne Policier is, if you're not sure who to connect with, go directly to Leanne. She'll help with that. But she's also our first person, your first line of contact for any questions, queries, or concerns. And also, if you're looking to book a presentation, connect with Leanne. Taeyang Jung runs our events and our special projects. So he's responsible for bringing great sessions like this to you. And Yoan Williams, they are our communications manager and manage the e-bulletin and our website and social media. If you have any questions, concerns, signing up for accessing our e-bulletin, among other things, please connect with them. I want to thank you very much for joining or watching this session, our first ever Family Councils Ontario Town Hall on November 7th, 2024. We look forward to additional great sessions with you in the new year. But until then, please stay in touch. And thank you so much for your work to create and sustain effective family councils that improve the quality of life for everyone in your long-term care home. Thank you, everyone. All right, thanks folks for joining, and we hope to see you soon. Take care, everyone.